50 million customers walked away from luxury brands last year alone. They finally looked at the price tag and said no, but here's the thing nobody's telling you. It is about to get worse. See, there's this apocalypse happening right now in the luxury world that nobody's talking about openly. McKinsey just dropped a bomb in their 2025 report. Growth has flatlined to between 1% and 3% annually through 2027. For the first time since 2016, luxury is actually creating less value than the year before. And some of the biggest names, brands you've worshipped your entire life, are bleeding out in real time. So today, we're counting down 15 luxury brands that have lost their way. From corporate chaos to price hikes that'll make your eyes water, and PR disasters that destroyed reputations overnight to quality so bad it's become a running joke on TikTok. These are 15 luxury brands that are no longer worth your money. Let's start at number 15 and work our way to the absolute worst offender. Number 15. Mulberry. You probably don't think about Mulberry much anymore, and that's exactly the problem. This British heritage brand, the one that gave us the Bayswater and the Alexa bag that literally every fashion blogger carried in 2011, has become the luxury equivalent of white noise. It's there. You acknowledge it exists, but you don't really care. The numbers tell a brutal story. Mulberry's been repositioning itself for years now, trying desperately to climb up market and sit at the big kids' table with Hermes and Chanel, higher prices, more exclusive materials, fancier ad campaigns. But here's what actually happened. They alienated their core customer base, the people who loved them for being accessible luxury without attracting the ultra-wealthy clientele they were chasing. International demand has softened dramatically. The Asian market, which luxury brands absolutely depend on for growth, has shown limited interest in British mid-tier heritage brands when they could buy French or Italian prestige instead. And the resale market? Forget about it. Mulberry bags depreciate faster than a new car driving off the lot. You're lucky to get 40% of your purchase price back within a year. So why pay 4 figures for a bag that nobody recognizes and holds no value? The same goes for this next brand on this list. We get the feeling you already know who they are already. Number 14. Michael Kors. Told you that you will see this one coming. Michael Kors became the poster child for what happens when a luxury brand goes too accessible, too fast. The logo bags were everywhere, literally everywhere. Your coworker had one, your mom had one, the teenager working at Starbucks had one, and when everyone has it, nobody wants it anymore. The brand tried to claw back prestige by raising prices and limiting distribution, but the damage was done. The affordable luxury space became crowded with competitors offering similar products at similar prices. Consumers started asking themselves a simple question: why am I paying $350 for a bag from Michael Kors when I could get something comparable from Coach or Kate Spade for less? Or more importantly, why not save a bit more and buy actual luxury? The middle ground Michael Kors occupied has become a no man's land. Too expensive to be an impulse buy. Not prestigious enough to be an investment piece. The brand reported declining sales for multiple quarters, and parent company Capri Holdings has been desperately trying to merge with Tapestry, owner of Coach and Kate Spade, just to stay afloat. In 2024, a federal judge blocked that merger, and now Michael Kors is stuck in limbo. Overexposed, undervalued, and running out of options. The verdict? Save your money. This brand peaked in 2012 and never recovered. This next brand has a severe case of identity crisis, and it will be the death of them. Number 13. Coach. Speaking of accessible luxury gone wrong, Coach is trapped in the same death spiral as Michael Kors, just with slightly better brand management. They're trying everything. Collaborations with celebrities, edgier ad campaigns, rebranding as modern American luxury. But the fundamental problem remains: the outlet stores. Coach outlet stores are everywhere, and consumers aren't stupid. When you can walk into a Coach outlet and buy a bag for 60% off retail, why would you ever pay full price? The entire pricing structure collapses under its own weight. The brand has some genuinely beautiful pieces in their higher-end collections. The craftsmanship is solid, the leather quality is decent for the price point. But perception is reality in luxury, and Coach is perceived as the brand your aunt buys when she wants to feel fancy without spending Chanel money. Resale value is abysmal. You'll be lucky to recoup 25% of what you paid. And here's the thing that makes it even worse. The luxury market is polarizing. Consumers are either buying true luxury like Hermès, Chanel, Dior, or they're shopping for fast fashion and contemporary brands. The middle tier where Coach lives is shrinking every quarter. But if you thought Coach had problems, wait until you see what happened to number 12, and you definitely aren't expecting the brand in that number. Number 12. Versace. Versace should be untouchable. Founded by Gianni Versace in 1978, everything about Versace screams maximalist glamour and Italian excess. So why are they on this list? 2 words: creative inconsistency. After Donatella took over following her brother's tragic death, the brand has had moments of brilliance mixed with collections that felt completely lost. The aesthetic swings wildly between vintage Versace codes like the Baroque prints, gold hardware, and aggressive sexuality, and attempts to modernize that often fall flat. Then they got caught in the logo trap. During the 2010s, they leaned heavily into maximalist branding, giant Medusa heads all over prints and gold chains and hardware covering every surface. It sold well initially, particularly in emerging markets where conspicuous consumption drives luxury purchases. But trends shifted. The fashion world moved toward quiet luxury, minimalist designs, and, if you know, subtlety. Suddenly, Versace's flashy aesthetic felt dated, like wearing a billboard that screams, "I'm trying too hard." Financial pressure at parent company Capri Holdings hasn't helped. Cost-cutting, strategic confusion, and a revolving door of executives trying to figure out how to make Versace relevant to younger consumers without alienating the core customer base. And here's the brutal truth about Versace pieces as investments. They don't hold value unless they're vintage runway pieces or iconic bags. That print shirt you bought this season? In 2 years, it'll look embarrassingly of the moment in the worst possible way. Versace really needs to get their Medusa straight and stabilize. This is something the next brand should do too. Number 11. Valentino. Valentino should be sacred ground. Founded in 1960, the Roman fashion house gave us Valentino red, gave us timeless elegance, gave us the kind of craftsmanship that makes you believe in luxury as an art form. Then they got confused. Under creative director Pierpaolo Piccioli, who left in 2024, Valentino went hard into maximalism. Pink everywhere. Feathers, volume, huge bows, statement hardware, collections that looked absolutely stunning on the runway, but translated terribly to real-life wearability. More problematically, Valentino started chasing trends instead of setting them. The Rockstud line, which had been iconic and timeless, got overproduced and over-distributed. Suddenly everyone had Rockstud flats, and the exclusivity vanished. Recent collections have leaned so heavily into logo-forward, hardware-heavy designs that pieces feel dated before you even get them home. And in an era where consumers increasingly value understated elegance and longevity, Valentino's aesthetic choices have felt questionable. Alessandro Michele, who worked at Gucci before took over as creative director in 2025, which signals yet another complete creative reset. That's the third major directional shift in 5 years. How is a brand supposed to build equity and consumer trust when the aesthetic changes completely every 18 months? The resale market reflects this uncertainty. Valentino pieces from the golden era hold value. Anything from the last 5 years, you're taking a serious loss. And speaking of creative chaos, number 10 is a masterclass in how to destroy brand equity through sheer incompetence. Number 10. Givenchy. Givenchy used to mean something. Hubert de Givenchy dressed Audrey Hepburn. The brand embodied Parisian elegance with just enough edge to stay modern. Then Riccardo Tisci left in 2018 after transforming the brand into a streetwear luxury hybrid, and everything fell apart. Claire Waite Keller took over and stripped away all the codes Tisci had built. Her collections were beautiful but forgettable. Safe. The kind of clothes that look great in editorials but never end up in anyone's closet. Then Matthew Williams came in 2020, bringing his Alex hardware aesthetic and industrial design language, another complete reset. More streetwear influences, metal hardware everywhere, collaborations with brands like Disney that felt more like desperate grabs for relevance than authentic partnerships. Williams left in 2024 after just 4 years. Sarah Burton, formerly of Alexander McQueen, took over in 2025. That's the 4th creative director in 7 years. You cannot build a luxury brand with that kind of instability. Consumers buy into a vision, an aesthetic, a consistent point of view. When the vision changes every 2 years, you're not buying into heritage or craftsmanship. You're gambling on whether this particular designer's take on Givenchy will age well. Spoiler alert, it usually doesn't. The resale market has completely lost confidence in contemporary Givenchy. Bags and clothing from the last 5 years sell at massive discounts because buyers know the aesthetic will be irrelevant by next season. Speaking of irrelevant, let's move on to number 9. Number 9. Bottega Veneta. Wait, you're thinking, Bottega Veneta, the brand everyone was obsessed with? Exactly. Bottega Veneta became the ultimate quiet luxury brand under Daniel Lee from 2018 to 2021. The pouch bag, the cassette bag, that intrecciato weave. Everyone who considered themselves sophisticated was carrying Bottega. It was the anti-logo bag. If you knew, you knew. And that's precisely why it's on this list. The hype peaked and died fast. By 2023, the Bottega aesthetic had been knocked off so thoroughly by high street brands that the exclusivity vanished. You could get a woven bag that looked 80% similar to the cassette from Zara for $50. Mathieu Blazy took over as creative director and has done beautiful work, but the cultural moment has passed. The brand that was supposed to be the antidote to logomania became just another trend. The bags that influencers were fighting over in 2020 are sitting in closets unworn in 2025 because they feel dated. Resale values have softened considerably. That Jody bag you paid $3,000 for? You'll be lucky to get $1,800 back 18 months later. Kering, Bottega's parent company, reported that the brand saw only 4% growth in 2024, barely keeping pace with inflation while other luxury houses struggled. That's not success. That's stagnation. The trend cycle moves faster than ever, and Bottega Veneta got caught in it. But that's nothing compared to what happened to number 8. Number 8. Fendi. The double F logo, the baguette bag, the peekaboo. Fendi has a serious heritage, so why has it lost its way? One word, overbranding. Fendi went all in on maximalist monogram pieces during the logo mania wave of the late 2010s. FF logos everywhere, Zucca print covering every surface. Furs, controversial even before sustainability became mainstream. The aesthetic was loud, expensive, and very specific to a particular moment in fashion. That moment has passed. Modern luxury consumers, particularly Gen Z and younger millennials who drive market growth, want versatility and longevity. They want pieces that work in multiple contexts, that don't scream, "Look at me," that age gracefully rather than feeling immediately dated. Fendi's core offerings don't fit that bill. The monogram bags that were everywhere 3 years ago now feel like relics. The peekaboo, once an iconic silhouette, has been overshadowed by competitors offering cleaner lines and more understated elegance. Parent company LVMH doesn't break out Fendi's individual performance in earnings reports, but analysts note the brand has underperformed relative to other houses in the portfolio. When your own parent company won't talk about your numbers, that tells you everything. The resale market shows clear trend fatigue. Heavily branded Fendi pieces from the last few years move slowly and at significant discounts. Only vintage baguettes and iconic pieces from the Karl Lagerfeld and Silvia Venturini Fendi era command premium pricing. And that brings us to the next luxury brand you should stay away from. Number 7. Balmain. Balmain under Olivier Rousteing became synonymous with a very specific aesthetic. Military-inspired jackets, crystal embellishments, Kim Kardashian and the entire Kardashian-Jenner clan front row, tight silhouettes, maximum glamour, Instagram-ready everything. It worked. for about 5 years. Then the cracks started showing. Balmain's aesthetic is so specific, so of a moment, that pieces feel dated almost immediately. That crystal-encrusted blazer that looked incredible in 2016, in 2025, it reads as costumey, trying too hard. A time capsule of a trend cycle that's long dead. The brand has struggled to evolve beyond Rousting's original vision. Collections feel repetitive. The same silhouettes, the same embellishments, the same references to military uniforms and Baroque excess. When your creative director has been at a house for over a decade and the collections still look nearly identical to his debut, that's not consistency. That's creative stagnation. Financially, Balmain was sold to Mehula for investments, the Qatari fund that also owns Valentino, in 2016, and there's been limited transparency about performance since. Industry analysts note the brand has failed to achieve the global scale and profitability that was projected. And the resale market? Brutal. Balmain pieces depreciate catastrophically. You're looking at losing 70 to 80% of retail value within 2 to 3 years for most pieces. Fashion press still covers Balmain shows, but the commentary has shifted from groundbreaking to more of the same. And in luxury, that's a death sentence. The same death sentence that this next brand is under. Number 6. Saint Laurent YSL. Saint Laurent's smoking jacket and Le Smoking suit? Yves Saint Laurent practically invented modern women's fashion. The brand has history, but under parent company Kering, yes, the same Kering that owns Gucci, Saint Laurent has hit a rough patch. Sales dropped 9% in 2024's fourth quarter, and the brand fell 8% overall for the year. What happened? Anthony Vaccarello has been creative director since 2016, which means we're approaching a decade of his vision. And while Vaccarello's work is technically accomplished, it feels increasingly samey. Lots of black, lots of sexy, lots of references to Yves Saint Laurent's archive without really building anything new. More problematically, Saint Laurent went hard on logo-forward pieces. The Cassandre YSL logo appeared on everything: bags, clothing, shoes, accessories. It sold well initially, particularly in Asia, where logo recognition drives purchasing decisions. But logo fatigue is real. The resale market shows dramatically lower prices for heavily branded YSL pieces compared to cleaner, more understated designs. That Lulu bag with the giant YSL monogram, it's losing value every quarter. Kering has been trying to streamline wholesale distribution to increase exclusivity, but that resulted in a 35% decline in wholesale revenue in Q4 2024 alone. The brand is caught between maintaining volume and protecting prestige, and it's failing at both. The fact that YSL is struggling is surprising, and prepare to be even more surprised with the next brand on this list. Number 5. Prada. This one hurts. Prada is Prada. Miuccia Prada is a fashion genius. The brand has given us some of the most important collections in modern fashion history. The nylon backpacks, the minimal luxury of the 1990s intellectual fashion that made you think. So how is it struggling? The Re-Nylon collection is a perfect example of Prada's current confusion. Launched as a sustainability initiative, the brand took recycled nylon and charged near full prices for bags made from plastic waste. Consumers looked at a Re-Nylon backpack priced at $1,700 and asked a reasonable question. Why am I paying luxury prices for recycled materials? The answer is supposed to be sustainability and innovation. But when you're asking customers to pay a premium for environmental consciousness, the value proposition gets confusing. Especially when those same customers can buy original Prada nylon pieces on the resale market for less. Raf Simons joined as co-creative director in 2020, which was supposed to signal a new era. The Prada and Raf Simons collections have been critically acclaimed but commercially inconsistent. The brand is trying to be too many things at once. Heritage luxury, avant-garde fashion, sustainable innovator, streetwear adjacent. Financial results reflect this confusion. Prada Group revenue grew only about 5% in 2024, underperforming the luxury market average. They aren't the only ones underperforming. Just look at the next name on this list. Number 4. Dior. Before you lose your mind, hear us out. Dior is enormous. LVMH's crown jewel alongside Louis Vuitton. The bar jacket, the Lady Dior bag, the new look. Maria Grazia Chiuri has done beautiful work modernizing the brand. But there's a problem. The saddlebag. Dior went all in on the saddlebag revival starting in 2018 when Kim Jones became men's artistic director. It was everywhere. Every influencer, every fashion week, every airport. The curved shape, the chunky strap, the CD logo. And now, it feels era-tied. When you see a saddlebag in 2025, it immediately reads as 2019 or 2020 fashion. It's the speedy phone of handbags. Instantly dated. This wouldn't be a huge problem, except Dior pushed the saddle hard. They made it the face of the brand for multiple seasons. Massive ad campaigns, limited editions, collaborations, and now the brand has to figure out what comes next. The book tote has faced similar challenges, overexposed, knocked off, spotted on every beach vacation and fashion week front row until it lost specialness. Dior's overall performance remains strong, but analysts note the brand is increasingly dependent on beauty and fragrance revenue rather than leather goods and ready-to-wear. When your fashion brand makes more money from lipstick than handbags, that's concerning. And if Dior's trend-dependent strategy is risky, the next brand on our list bet everything on ubiquity and is now paying the price. Number 3. Louis Vuitton. The biggest name in luxury, the most recognized logo on earth. Louis Vuitton is everywhere, and that's exactly the problem. Everywhere. LV's collaboration strategy has become absolutely relentless. Each collaboration is meant to generate hype, create scarcity, drive cultural conversation. But when you have a major collaboration dropping every few months, none of them feel special. The Kusama collaboration in 2023 generated $39.7 million in media impact value, sure. But industry analysts noted something interesting. People talked about the robotic Kusama statue in store windows, the giant inflatable sculptures, the Instagram installations. Nobody really talked about the actual products. The bags became souvenirs, expensive pins you buy at the museum gift shop because you attended the exhibition. That's not luxury. That's merch. Meanwhile, the core Louis Vuitton offerings have become so common that they've lost aspiration. The Neverfull tote is everywhere. The Speedy is everywhere. The Pochette Métis is everywhere. When your Uber driver is carrying the same bag you spent $2,000 on, the exclusivity vanishes. LVMH doesn't break out individual brand performance, but analysts note Louis Vuitton's fashion and leather goods division saw revenue decline 5% in Q1 2025. For a brand this large, that's a red flag. The resale market is absolutely flooded with Louis Vuitton. So much product in circulation that even authentic pieces struggle to sell because buyers assume everything is fake. The authentication industry exists almost entirely because Louis Vuitton is the most counterfeited brand on earth. You're not buying exclusivity. You're buying a logo that's been photocopied so many times it's become visual noise. But overexposure is nothing compared to what the next two brands did to themselves. Number 2. Balenciaga. November 2022. That's when Balenciaga committed what might be the single worst PR disaster in modern luxury history. The gift collection campaign featured young children, maybe 2 or 3 years old, holding teddy bear handbags. Except the teddy bears were wearing BDSM gear. Leather straps, metal spikes, and bondage accessories. The backlash was instantaneous. Within days, hashtags like Burn Balenciaga and Cancel Balenciaga had generated over 300 million views on TikTok. Influencers filmed themselves tearing apart Balenciaga bags and burning Balenciaga clothing. Celebrities posted statements. Kim Kardashian, the brand's most visible ambassador, said she was re-evaluating her relationship with Balenciaga. The brand's initial response made everything worse. They deleted the campaigns, blamed the photographers and set designers, and then they filed a $25 million lawsuit against the production company, claiming the problematic props were included without their knowledge. Nobody believed them. Major brands don't release campaigns without multiple levels of approval. Creative director Demna finally apologized on December 2nd, taking personal responsibility for the gift collection campaign. CEO Cedric Charbit released a separate apology outlining new approval processes and content vetting. But the damage was done. Parent company Kering never released specific numbers, but analysts estimated Balenciaga revenue fell between 15% and 20% in the quarters following the scandal. The scandal forced a brutal question. Was this intentional? Balenciaga has a history of controversial marketing. Demna has said he likes to provoke thought with his work. Some advertising analysts believe the campaigns were classic shockvertising, designed to generate attention even if negative. The theory goes that Balenciaga got millions in free media coverage, and eventually consumers would forget and come back. Except they haven't forgotten, and many haven't come back. Balenciaga will survive. Kering won't let a brand this profitable die. But the reputation damage is permanent. Whenever someone sees a Balenciaga bag now, there's a split-second thought. Oh yeah, the child scandal brand. That association doesn't go away. And speaking of reputation damage, nothing compares to what's happening to our number one brand. Number 1, Gucci. Gucci is collapsing in real time. They are not financially dead, but they are bleeding out in a way that's shocking to watch. This is Kering's flagship brand. It is the brand that accounts for roughly half of Kering's annual revenue and 2/3 of its operating profit, and the brand with the double G logo that ruled fashion for the last decade. Now, it's in freefall. Let's talk numbers because the numbers are devastating. In 2024, their revenue went down 23% year over year. That's not a slump, that's a collapse. Gucci revenue fell back to 2020 levels, back to the COVID crisis, except this time there's no pandemic to blame. And it gets worse. Their operating income was cut in half. Literally cut in half. From over 3 billion euros in 2023 to 1.6 billion in 2024. Operating margin dropped to just 21%, while competitors like Louis Vuitton and Chanel maintained margins above 35%. Things aren't still looking as they should. In Q1 2025, operating margins fell another 25%. This isn't a correction, but a death spiral. So what happened? Alessandro Michele happened, and then he unhappened. Michele joined Gucci in 2015 and became the creative director who redefined the brand for a generation. Maximalism, eclecticism, gender fluidity, vintage references mixed with contemporary codes, the Dionysus bag, the Marmont bag, the Princetown loafers, logomania done with irony and excess. Gucci exploded. Revenue more than doubled under Michele. The brand became the fashion industry's darling. Everyone from Harry Styles to Billie Eilish was wearing Gucci. Fashion critics wrote pieces about Michele's genius. Then in November 2022, Michele left, or was pushed out, depending on who you believe. After 7 years of explosive growth, Kering apparently decided it was time for change. Enter Sabato de Sarno in January 2023. His brief? Completely strip away Michele's codes and start fresh. Cleaner lines, more commercials, less eccentric. The Gucci Ancora campaign launched in January 2024, presenting a vision of everyday luxury with simplified silhouettes and toned-down branding. Fashion critics loved it. Customers hated it. The collection received positive press reviews, but commercial response fell dramatically short. Consumer engagement was lower than expected, especially in North America and Europe, historically Gucci's strongest markets. The brand closed 2024 with revenue equal to the worst of the COVID lockdowns. De Sarno left in February 2025, less than 18 months after being appointed. Less than 18 months to completely redesign one of the biggest fashion brands on earth, reverse a decade of aesthetic codes, and win back customers. Kering then announced the unthinkable. Demna Gvasalia, the controversial creative director of Balenciaga, the man behind the child scandal, would take over at Gucci. The appointment triggered industry-wide shock. You're taking the designer from the brand with the worst PR crisis in modern luxury history and putting him in charge of your wounded flagship brand? That's the solution? François-Henri Pinault, Kering's CEO, defended the choice by saying Demna would build on the vision of the brand and that this wasn't a cancellation of de Sarno's work. But consumers aren't stupid. This is the third major creative reset at Gucci in 3 years. Michel's maximalism, de Sarno's pared-back commercialism, now Demna's controversial edge. How is a brand supposed to build equity, customer loyalty, and consistent messaging when the entire aesthetic changes every 16 months? And now you want people to buy Gucci designed by the Balenciaga scandal guy? Good luck with that. Here's what makes Gucci's collapse so devastating. This wasn't supposed to happen. Gucci had momentum, cultural cachet, brand equity built over a decade of consistent creative vision. They were printing money, and then Kering fumbled it. Pushed out the designer who built the modern brand, brought in a replacement with impossible expectations and insufficient time. Pushed him out after 18 months. And now they're gambling on the most controversial designer in luxury as a Hail Mary. McKinsey's State of Luxury report warns that brands failing to make necessary changes risk becoming irrelevant and sacrificing market share for years to come. That's not a prediction for Gucci. That's the current reality. The luxury market lost 50 million customers in 2024 because brands like Gucci pushed prices too high without delivering corresponding value. Then Gucci messed up by destroying a decade of brand building in 3 years of executive panic and creative chaos. The wealthy customers who actually drive luxury spending aren't buying the same way anymore. They want authenticity, consistency, heritage, craftsmanship, a clear point of view. Gucci currently offers none of those things. It's a brand in identity crisis, helmed by a controversial designer nobody asked for, owned by a parent company that's down 24% in revenue and closing stores. You want to spend $3,000 on a bag from a brand that doesn't know what it wants to be? Go ahead. But don't expect it to hold value. Don't expect it to feel special in 2 years. And definitely don't expect Gucci to figure out its identity crisis anytime soon. Gucci is number 1 on this list, not because it's the worst brand, but because it's the biggest cautionary tale, proof that even the most successful luxury brands can self-destruct through bad leadership, creative instability, and corporate arrogance. So there you have it. 15 luxury brands that have lost their way, some through creative chaos, some through overexposure, some through PR disasters that should have never happened, some through pure corporate greed disguised as exclusivity. For too long, luxury brands have operated under the assumption that they could do whatever they wanted and customers would keep paying. Raise prices 86% in 5 years? Sure. Put out 15 collaborations per year until your logo becomes meaningless? Why not? Feature children in BDSM campaigns? Somebody approved it. But customers are waking up. They're realizing that just because something has a fancy logo doesn't mean it's worth the price. They're comparing quality to cost. They're watching resale values. They're asking themselves if that bag will still feel special in 2 years, or if it'll just be another trend piece gathering dust in the closet. The brands that survive this reckoning will be the ones that remember what luxury actually means. So here's my challenge to you. Before you buy your next luxury piece, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Will this feel special in 5 years, or will it feel dated? 2. Is the quality actually worth the price, or am I paying for a logo? 3. Does this brand have a clear identity and creative vision, or is it just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks? If you can't answer those questions confidently, save your money. Or better yet, buy vintage. Buy secondhand. Buy from brands that still care about craft over hype. Drop a comment and tell me which brand surprised you most on this list. Did I miss any that should have been here? And most importantly, are you still buying from any of these brands, or have you walked away too? Hit subscribe if you want more deep dives into the fashion industry's biggest disasters. Because trust us, we're just getting started. See you in the next one.